So today's the 20th of January. I'm calling the Open Space Committee meeting to order. So today we don't have any citizens here, so there's no citizen queries. And then the next item on the agenda is reviewing the meeting minutes. They might type those up. Sadie sent those out. People had an opportunity to review those.
Yes.
Yes. Any other input?
No.
Changes? No? Then I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I move.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so tonight, the bulk of the meeting is going to be talking about the plan. Sadie has some information about, she had some conversations with Merrimack Valley Planning Commission. They, as you are aware, are willing to do the first flush through the document. And they said that they'd like to get it done, more in its rough draft, like don't put too much time into it, let's take a look at, see your progress. So, so that's kind of where we're headed.
Yeah, they were saying that usually, there's obviously the formal review at the end of the process, but the Kay Emery, who's on the environmental team at MVPC, was reaching out. She was like, oh, we want to be more involved before that stage so that, we can get we can help you before you get too far down the road. So I thought we could just kind of, I think you were saying earlier, Christina, about just, put what we have now into a combined doc, and then, because I think a few of you have sent me your final, I think I have section 3, 4, and 5 final drafts, which is amazing. And I think I have your guys' red text in there with specific questions, so we can just kind of send it as is. And yeah, just include any specific highlighted questions that people have for MVPC to help answer. So I can put together what we have, unless anyone has anything else that they wanted to talk to MVPC about at this stage.
So I was wondering, what about the other sections, like our action items and the goals, objectives, that stuff? Do they, because obviously those have not been done yet.
Yeah.
Do they still want us to start sending material to them so they can start reviewing that?
I think so. I think, our action plan brainstorming doc is in a really rough stage, but it's looking great. It's nice and got some good ideas going. So I think this would be good to send soon, along with the draft that we have so far. So, but I just wanted to check in with people and see, I wanted to go over more of this tonight as well. And then I can, make it neater and we can include it in the draft.
And what about, which would be, I guess, section 6, analysis of needs?
I talked to you, David, about helping draft that. How's that going so far?
And it's, unfortunately the timing was bad, and that's why I couldn't get together with Bill and Sadie to draft agenda. I think actually, frankly, interestingly, it may be that it's a backwards process. In other words, we identify the action plan and items and so on.
Like this.
And and then look back, because essentially section 6 is divided into 4 pretty clear sections, and that is, what do you lack, what don't you have, or what you want, what should you be protecting, okay, and how are you going to do that, probably, recreation, which we have pretty well in spades, in terms, and that's just a question of summarizing, I think. And then management, which in our case may be quite a key kind of item, I think. But those are the 4 sections. So I think after that takes shape, then one can look and say, okay, these are the, you know, I think we've all probably begun to identify needs anyway, but I think it makes most sense, because if you write some analysis and then go off in some weird directions, clearly you didn't know what you were
Yeah,
doing.
this,
you
the
know?
section 6 seems to be kind of like this, but in written
Yeah.
form.
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
what you mean.
So that's my only comment.
Okay, yeah, so maybe we can start by sending this and say, you know, we're thinking we'll use this to write our section 6. Do you have any pointers for that section? Do we think that might be a good process?
Yeah, I think if we could kind of finalize or get this into, maybe not the final form, but develop this further, then after we send that out, maybe section 6 is something, because at that point we'll have a pretty good idea what section 6 is going to be about, and then we can start that section 6, and whether that's, we can help David or, you know,
Yeah.
we can work together on that.
Okay.
Does it make sense to, like, we're brainstorming, and once we get through brainstorming, does it make sense to put it into those 4 categories, just so in our head we start thinking that way?
Yeah.
And then we just make sure we didn't miss anything, which I can't imagine that we have, but I just wanna make sure we don't miss any goals or action items that might be in one of those 4 buckets.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be good.
Well, I think they've actually sort of begun to fall into those sections, you know, into those 4 ideas. And then as we either expand or amend what's in the action plan, then I think it becomes clear that we are covering those bases. I think what the state is looking for is 2 things. Is there a what shall I say, a coming together of what your survey said and what you as a committee have discovered in other ways that enable you to essentially answer those needs. Because you know, one of the things I think which is true, if you look at other towns in terms of how they've interpreted what's wanted, basically it's a combination of the stuff that came in from their surveys with clearly either agenda items which were there continuing from previous plans or from the committee, because the committee in many towns is drawn from people who are in the conservation preservation world, on the staff of the town, etc. So I think that's how it kind of pulls together.
That makes perfect sense to me too. I know that when I was looking at other towns, and we just briefly were looking at the old open space plan, there's a lot of common threads there. It's like, you know, it's not like what one town needs, Ipswich or name your town, it's open space. It's very similar to our needs here. Open space is open space. People are looking to conserve it, find ways to do it, and to meet needs of the community. So there's going to be some real common threads. And so there may be, actually there are things in the last plan that are going to probably move forward and go into this plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
yeah.
The only problem with the last plan and the sort of interim kind of stuff that got done is, and I was part of it, so I can confess to it, is there was this movement to cover all the bases and to have goals that were not practical, frankly, for Newbury. And part of that I now realize, looking back, because I came into that process sort of about 2/3 the way through as a member of the planning board, it was because they had a consultant. A consultant was kind of cranking out what you're supposed to say. And you couldn't say, well, we disagree with that, but on the other hand, you at the same time, we should have prioritized more. We should have really said, should we really be thinking about this in the next 5 to 7 years? Because there may be other and it also led to the fact, I think, that it swamped the selectmen, all of the people who were supposed to get on board, for lots of reasons I won't bore you with, political mainly, but also for the fact it was just too big. I mean, it was like this sort of, my God, you know, we can't do this. And we need to avoid that, I think, and I think we are.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we should be ambitious, but realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the longest period ever for an open space plan that we're attempting to cover. It's never been a 10-year plan. But I agree, I don't want, you know, future us to be super overwhelmed with the amount of things that we said we were gonna do, so.
Because we can always do more.
Yeah,
Right? It's like,
and if we don't get to everything in the plan, it's not the end of the world either, but it's good to have, you know, varied possible projects to
yeah.
attempt, but don't wanna go overboard either.
Yep, agree. All right, so then, do we want to review some of the stuff people have kind of been spitballing here?
Sure,
Maybe
yeah.
What you came up with and there's some comments.
I kind of, you know, made these bold headings, last week, just kind of after, you know, having sat for months with, you know, all this other feedback from other groups and the survey data, and so it seems like improve existing town-owned spaces kind of encompasses a lot of different things, like, you know, maintenance of trails, you know, common hazards like ticks, poison ivy, things like that seemed to be pretty, you know, things that people encountered a lot that might stop them from using open spaces. We can work to deal with those things. Review underused parcels for potential conveyance. Yeah, that was something I've been talking to Kristen about, just kind of assessing different parcels of land that just are town-owned but aren't being used in any way, have no buildings on them, have no frontage so you can't build, but they're just kind of sitting there. I think Mike would know a lot about that as well. Just kind of seeing if we can do something with them, or, you know, connect them to use them to connect different open spaces together, things like that. It looks like Mike added some things. Management and maintenance plans for existing town-owned properties, develop goals for a specific property. That sounds good to me. Develop and create and improve signage at different properties. I think
Was this, I hate to ask, but was
Yeah.
this in, okay, I didn't get to look at this until today.
That's okay. It's in the Newbury OSRD.
Yeah, but what I'm gonna ask you is, I went into that today
Mhm.
through the Google link, and none of those comments showed up.
Okay. Like Mike's, these comments on the side?
No, nothing showed up in the comment column.
Okay.
Which, you know, may be just an issue that I had or something, but I did go in through Google, through my account on Google, and normally it sort of, it either indicates there's something missing, or it provides that. So that was all I'm gonna say. I don't know whether anybody else experienced
No, I had
the
the
same
same
thing.
problem, and I just
Did-
realized what I did wrong.
Did you
Yeah.
download it and then open it?
Hmm?
Did you download the document and then open it?
Uh,
Or did you open it right in Google Drive? It-
That's a good question. I probably
Right.
opened it, yeah, I didn't have any particular occasion to download it at that
Okay.
point, I think. So I opened it online.
In the browser, like if you.
Yeah, right.
Okay. If you do
Okay.
download it, it won't show.
That's true.
Oh, it won't
That-
show the comments?
that
Yeah, I
far.
see it in Google Docs. I just
Yeah.
double clicked it and it opened it in the browser and I see
Exactly.
the comments.
Yeah.
So is it for you folks opening up like that?
It is,
It did.
yeah. It was-
Oh, okay.
But
and
mine
is
has a
it-
little icon you
What,
have to
Sean,
click.
yeah, what happened, what did you,
It was kind of interesting because I opened it up, I was looking at it, and I saw actually somebody was in there making a change. But I didn't see the comments, and it turns out there's a little icon that,
Now, it's showing
You have to
up as a
click on it.
PDF.
Yeah, oh, then
That's
oh,
why.
Really?
really?
oh, I got a doc app.
It's a doc.
Well, that's my PDF reader is what opened it.
Okay.
Oh.
Is
That's-
that maybe the issue?
Maybe
That
you
could
must,
be
it must be
different.
downloaded then.
yeah.
I just downloaded it also. I just tried downloading it.
Oh, you actually downloaded it,
I just did both. I just opened it in the browser, click, double click, and then I also downloaded it.
yeah.
If he downloaded it before Mike made those comments,
Well,
that might.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
You might
so
not.
all I'm gonna say is because of that, I have comments which aren't on it.
Okay,
And I
yeah.
would like to share them as we go along, if that's okay.
Yes, that works.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so I just had, goal 1, goal 2, provide information, education on open spaces, and then I definitely want, applying for grant funding to be a big part of our work after this thing gets approved, because that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah, I would even, if we're gonna prioritize, I put that near the top. I mean, I think the
Yeah.
first goal
Yeah,
would be, to me, the first goal, which is captured there, but we could piece it out even better, is be to like facilitate the implementation of this plan. So,
Yeah.
and then right in that would be pursuing funding opportunities to further goals and objectives of the plan.
yeah.
It seems like the goal before that though, or like embedded in that goal, first needs to be identify, like prioritize how you find like which parcels that you want, that you would like identify at least characteristics of parcels so that you could actually identify parcels, but then also characteristics of parcels, because there could be some parcels that you're not really aware of. Because if you go ask for grant money, you have to kind of know what you want to use the grant money for.
Okay.
So,
Well, are we talking about asking for grant money for that? For
To
parcel
prioritize?
acquisition?
to actually prioritize? That's a great idea.
We'd have to, I think maybe the first step is, like we have to research and track what grant, like funding is available, like what grants are available to apply for and see, we can see one that's available, here's, apply for this grant to fund, parcel assessment and like analysis, and that's kind of, something we're interested in. So, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, seems like you might be able to do both at the same time, but I agree, Christina, like, working as a committee just on this, reviewing parcels in town to figure out what we want to, where we wanna prioritize our efforts.
Yeah, we have like the town-owned open spaces, but then like what are the parcels that we don't own that we eventually might want to own? Kind of like Essex or Greenbelt,
Mhm.
they came up with a prioritization. They're like, here are the parcels that are priority ones. I feel like,
Yeah,
That could be very useful to us.
yeah, I feel like we could partner with them, we could also come
Yeah.
with our own list.
Yeah, something else I wanted to mention to you guys is, Abby, at Greenbelt, who made those prioritization maps. Mike talked to her and she's gonna give us updated maps for our meeting next month, but she also offered to attend our meeting, our open space meeting, so I feel like that would be great to bring up to her if she is able to come to our next one, to talk about the maps and then like maybe that prioritization strategy of like, you know, how do we identify parcels that we wanna, you know, focus on at the beginning of this plan implementation. So.
And then what's the goal of having her here? Like in terms of our priorities, like I'd love to talk about our kind of short-term priorities here over like the next 6 months. What do we want to get accomplished? And if having her come would help us accomplish those, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
It would be good to get an understanding of, like, is it going to help us finish writing the plan
Mm-hmm.
by having her come? And maybe it will if she's going to give us some insights.
I think it will. I just figured that, you know, when we review maps, people tend to have questions, so she offered just to come and.
Well, I think what Greenbelt has done is to do this for the whole of the county, right? And so what they should have done in relation to Newbury particularly is to map in relationship to, I think, primarily two things. And one is conservation protection and the other is agriculture, okay? And if nothing else, that would give us a much better, or much more informed, because it's, you know, done by people who do this all the time, idea of what someone with those capabilities sees in Newbury. And to, in terms of, you know, keeping Boston happy, if we show that we're aware of that and that we're working with Greenbelt to have that as part of the town's informational resources, that's a star. That's a gold star. That's good. That's you're doing the right thing. So I think if she can bring something that's visual and we can share, then it's up to you guys as to whether you want to spend the time doing that.
Yeah, because I mean, it seems like she would be the person to ask about this, you know, maybe besides MVPC, but, you know, she's given us some parcel prioritization maps. I think she'd be the person to ask about, you know, how to focus on
So the other thing I think
parcels.
we need to be realistic about, and maybe this is preempting something I might say later, but having been sort of at this kind of game for a long time in this community, there aren't many places that are in our acquisition sites which we don't know about. Okay, I would specifically just mention while I'm at it, you need to take out the references you actually have used in there to stuff in Martin Burns. Because one of them is...
This isn't, it's not a town-owned.
Well, no, it's
Parcel
two
or
problems,
area
okay. There's a great confusion in the data in my map. 5 seems to be the same as 6. Okay, 6 seems to be the
I
same
did
as
notice,
5.
well, they're two, well,
Yeah.
at least my map says they're two separate parcels, but they're like in the same area. They're kind of encapsulated, like they're like landlocked within Martin Burns.
Right, but actually,
But they
the
aren't
reality
actually the
is
same.
there's only one parcel. It's the assessor's office, which I think has it not unusually a little bit upside down and backwards. Also, it's an orphan parcel in Martin Burns, and what should happen with that is the town should get around to going to Fish and Game and saying, hey, it's yours because it's part of your world, so please let's, register the transfer. There's no developable possibility. The one biggest one is the Arnold property. Okay, the one on the corner of Coleman Road and Elm Street. And since that one is private and two is, in a state of maybe, maybe not, we need to be very careful as to whether we make a public identification there. But I think you'll find, see, this community has 5 major conservation, preservation, wildlife organizations. And they haven't missed much that's worth having, that makes any connective tissue, I think is the issue here. And most of the other parts and pieces that do make connective tissue are either owned by the school system or existing non-profits, including the retreat, okay, which are and Caldwell Farms, which line the route from the playing fields all the way through to Governor Dummer. If we could pull that off as a real connective tissue, that, frankly, my money would be, a real coup, because you would then have a trail that will be, 5-6 miles long, maybe, Jim, something like that. And
That might be a little long, but it's close to that.
But through some of the most
That's amazing.
just really neat,
Yeah.
stuff we have, and classic. I mean, it's riverine, it's all of the things you want. And also the state has already made some efforts to acquire land at the end of that, because they own property adjacent to Route 1, where the corner of Governor Dummer's Governor's Academy meets Route 1. They own property on the river there. I don't know who it is actually. I don't know whether it's Fish and Game or, not sure.
That's wildlife.
Yeah.
So is this sort of describing something that's not articulated currently, or are we saying it's just interconnected?
Yeah, right. Well, it is, right.
It's kind of almost
yeah, and
higher
that
level
was,
to a lot of what we're
that
talking
was a
about here.
goal
Yeah,
in the old plan,
right.
except it wasn't as well spelled out, perhaps. But if you look at the plan map and the old plan, you'll see that was something. And it came to a grinding halt when when Caldwell had cold feet and said, we don't have to do this, because they hadn't read their deeds, most of them. Yeah. Okay, so enough of history, but it does play in.
Well, it does, I mean, I'm trying to figure out if we do, are we trying to do some prioritization before we finish
Right.
this plan, so we have the goals, or is one of our goals of the plan that we can sort of pick off soon is gonna be to do some prioritization? Which
Right.
one comes first?
From my understanding, I think prioritization is part of creating the action plan, because then we can put those specific action items into the plan as once it's approved, these are the things that we wanna get done as a committee, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah, I mean, it will just, that's like a bigger lift, right?
That is a pretty
Do
big
that
lift, yeah.
prioritization, is all I'm saying is that it's gonna push our schedule out a little bit.
That's true.
If we try to get all learned on that topic and then
Mhm.
we apply it and then we come up with what we want. I also agree, I'm a little worried about putting specific parcels that we might be interested into a plan, I feel like can it be
Things could
more
change.
high level, like we want to find, connected, we want to connect, important areas or something, like we just sort of make some broad brush things, and then the plan isn't like what everybody reviews as a draft and goes out to the town. You have to be like a little more cued in order to see, well, actually, we want to connect these 5 parcels, or we want these 5 parcels to connect this to that. That feels not as public that we should put in the document, but maybe I'm being overly conservative about what we write down and what we don't.
This
I
would be a
think
good
it's-
question for MVPC.
Yeah, when I
Kinda
said
share
higher
that.
level, I was,
Thinking the
you
same thing.
articulated it very nicely, so
Okay,
I think that is
that's
how
what we
we
write
should
down
approach
here.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Not get, in part because you're gonna get caught up in the weeds, right?
Yeah.
A lot of details.
Right.
So, yeah, whether it's, something that's a little more strategic in nature, I like the idea of interconnectedness and kind
Yeah.
of exploring those opportunities
Yeah.
with the goal of, providing longer hikes or something,
Mhm,
that are accessible to different
Yeah. The
different
wildlife corridors,
constituents,
right? there's-
and different aspects.
So maybe
of
we'll get like a
things.
little more educated on this when she, if
Mhm.
she comes and she kind of
Yeah.
explains how they prioritize things. That will give us some of the vernacular that we can use to write
Right.
in here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, okay, what am I hearing here? Am I hearing you want it to move to a higher plane, or you want the higher plane to be in there in order to lead into specifics that make sense?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to find that balance.
I think the higher level is, it's an easier lift, and it gives us a lot of leeway to make decisions after the plan has been approved. If there was something that we had in, down in the pipeline, like if we were continuing renovation on something like that, then I would include that in the plan. But if we don't have anything that we've started, and I can't think of anything, then maybe keep it higher level at this point.
I guess-
Well, okay, let me give you an example which is missing here, which I think we need to consider, okay? I'll give you the example of the high level, as I see what I'm hearing anyway, and I'm not, and bear with me, I don't hear every word, but, okay, so what's missing is water access, okay? So there's the high level,
Mhm.
water access. The specific, which you can find, okay, is there's a place on Middle Road which is being used by adventuresome kayakers who probably got rather muddy and all the rest of it.
Exactly.
But interestingly, there's another place that has been largely neglected, and that is the fact that the Mill River is a boundary, and we have the northern half of the boundary line which runs down the middle of the river.
To
right?
rally.
And right on Route 1,
Yeah.
a few feet from the town line crossing Route 1 is a pull-off, okay, on Route 1, which actually serves for a tidal. In other words, you can't, well, you could do it at low tide, but you'd be pretty pathetic. A tidal access. And the interesting thing about that is that it's on the one hand, somebody might say complicated by the fact that it's a Mass dot right-of-way, but at the same time, it exists, it's been there a long time, and also Mass dot likes to earn brownie points, and they might help to fund a rather proper thing because they would want to make sure that you had sight lines and all that sort of crap, that kind of world. And so the high level is the water access. A specific example would be, one, can Middle Road be developed? And the answer probably is no, because it's a conservation, I think, issue. In other words, you'd have to do some stuff to the riverbank and a bunch of things. And then two, the second item would be, should we investigate the potential of Mill River? And you get someone from MassDOT out here and they may tumble, take one look, pull their hair and say, Christ, no, I mean, there's no way. Or they might say, ooh, and they're really kind of, frankly, they're often a little weird. There are times when I've found through the commission, MEPC, that they'll do things which you would never think they'd do, and there are other times when they need to do things and they just don't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel like if it's a publicly owned parcel, then I wouldn't have any problem like writing down something specific like that. But if we wanted water access and we liked Joe Smith's parcel because he has a really big backyard and we wanted to get his parcel, like I wouldn't mention that. But I feel like public owned parcels seem a little more fair game as long as
right.
we've sort of thought that through a little. Maybe
The right of
reach
way
out to
through the
somebody.
Hoffman property.
Right, exactly. We want Bill and Christina's backyard. I might not write that down, but.
I hope that the other thing that would demonstrate, you see, is you're leveraging what you have. If you follow me.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you just created a water access one that's
Yeah.
similar to an interconnected trail.
Right.
Go, whether you call them goals or something, but I like that it's
Yeah, now,
elevated that, and you can
somebody-
have, just say,
yeah.
potential areas,
Yeah.
and just kind of,
Now, there will be somebody who will say, oh, why do you need to do all that? You can put a kayak in at the town landing. You ever tried doing that? Well, sometimes it's terrific, and sometimes you're not at all welcome because there's no place for your vehicle. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and the tide's wrong, and
I don't
do
think
that
anybody
there.
would say we can put in something at the town ramp. I feel like everyone wants more access to the water.
Right. And I
So
think-
I think,
yeah, the Parker River, I mean, talking
Yeah.
about meandering and different opportunities, Mill River, whatever,
yeah.
I could list 5 areas right away that I'd be like, I'd love to go do that, but it's not really set up for it. And
Right.
so I think some kind of feasibility around,
Yeah.
these opportunities makes a lot of sense.
That's kind of,
Yeah.
maybe that should be our goal, is to do research on
Yeah.
what would be some feasible
Right.
things. And-
Yep.
Yep.
And maybe it's nothing more than putting it out there and inviting people to come to one of these meetings and say, oh, I happen to have a piece of property that, whatever, I don't know, I can't imagine that's the way it works, but, but you never know. I mean, somebody might say, hey, I'm getting on and I don't want to give it to the kids, I just give it to the town, something like that, you never know.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah.
And just as another aside, since we're talking about water accesses, let's not forget the actual canoe launch that's off of Route 1 there,
Exactly.
that has no canoe launch. At least
By
none
the
that you
marine
could access
biology.
with a canoe.
Right.
By the golf course? Yeah, just.
No, it's, where the bridge is that goes over the Parker River on Route 1 there?
Yeah, just.
Just to the right of that.
Right,
If you go down
before
there,
you-
there's a parking area and everything, and it's all
By the
gated off, and
And
there's
the-
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
2-mile walk
Mhm.
to the
Right,
canoe
yeah.
launch.
Is this, where is it? Is this north of the Parker River?
So it's on the south,
East side.
northbound side.
Yeah.
On,
Northbound.
on the north side
Yeah.
of the
We're
river.
talking about the same.
It's right at the river there, yeah.
You go
It
past
used
the
to
golf
be
course.
a,
So not at the
Marine
town
MBL,
landing,
the marine
but
biology.
somewhere else.
Off
No,
Route
this
1.
is on Route 1,
It's this little,
Oh, Route 1.
where
Yeah.
Route 1 crosses over the
Oh.
Parker River, so without
Just-
bridges that they're always
One
working.
when I
on.
was
you're
there.
talking about just past the golf course. If you
Right.
pass the golf course entrance, you go up another quarter mile or whatever.
It's actually just past that,
Marine biology,
the,
Woods Hole thing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's all north or-
national, whatever it is.
Yes.
It's MBL. It is MBL.
Right, yeah.
Okay, well, I think,
Anyway, I looked
No.
it up because.
Yeah, no, I think these are huge opportunities, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's actually state land though. That's owned by,
Oh, is it?
yeah, Fish and Wildlife,
Is
Mass
it?
Division of Fish and Wildlife.
Okay.
But
Well,
is that something, just because it's
maybe we should get on
state
that.
land, right?
Get
I
on
guess
Is
that.
that-
CCM would be all over that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right,
CCM,
and it
they
seems like it
want-
would make it better, more
Right.
positive, right?
Right.
So there, I mean,
Yeah.
there's literally a big iron metal gate across this perfectly good roadway that
Totally.
it looks like somebody has been driving down periodically. But it's, you know, I walked down there one day, it was quite a long walk.
Right.
And I could not imagine carrying a canoe during
The
that walk.
portage part, yeah.
Well, that was one of the places that Marlene Schrader, if you know of her, who was very much involved in all kinds of stuff around here and in Newburyport. She felt that something could happen there because it was already protected land and some kind of, you know, low-level friendly development could happen. So, yeah, great, okay.
But it-
Water.
So these
that's
are good examples of like
Right.
water access goal, the action is to identify 5 parcels or something, I don't know, what is the action?
If you had to put a metric on it especially, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I would call it more of an objective. So the goal is to identify areas of open space worth pursuing for, you know, recreation or something.
For water access?
And then within that, that would be the objective, identify water access. It's just a little on my brain. So it falls
okay,
underneath, so I'm
so-
trying to keep it like more categorized in general, rather than have like, make that our goal is to identify water access, make that an objective within the goal to identify areas important for, you know, public recreation.
I like the distinction you're making there too, between recreational use and water access, because I think they're kind of two different things. It's like, especially if you think Plum Island, that's what came into my mind when he said that. It's like, how do you gain access to the beach and how does that all work out? Is there other opportunities on the island to open up access to the beach, et cetera? So,
Right.
just,
Yeah, yeah, depending on
Just
how we
something
word that, it
brought
could,
up.
yeah, I mean, we know through the survey, public access to the beach is a really big issue, and improving, identifying and improving, as David has also done through his picture slideshow. That's something that we need to incorporate, that should be incorporated into probably an objective, or maybe, I guess, yeah, I would call it an objective.
it is kind of a separate issue, I
Mhm.
guess, yeah, I guess we could look at.
Public access, and improving public access, and then underneath that.
I mean,
water
this is
access,
like, this is
access.
nuanced, the wording of this section is going to be a bugger.
It is.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna take us the longest to come up with this, the wording of this section. I mean, we should
Yeah.
follow the guidance plan, so at least it helps us use the terminology that they want to see in order to approve our plan.
Yeah.
We don't wanna be making up new terms, but this is gonna be,
One thing that I like, what they described, is that the 10-year action plan should be a table, rather than written out paragraph by paragraph.
Yeah.
And looking at other plans, it really simplifies how that should be done.
Yeah.
So.
That was my image or vision for how it would end up, like you'd have, you know, the goal, like the overarching heading at the top, and then like objectives, and then like action items, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, listed below. I
And
think
I mean, in a
that's-
certain sense, I read tables much better.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
Well,
Helps
When
you
you're
try
talking about
to,
action items
you know,
and.
instead of just getting a wall of
Yeah.
words,
Yes,
you got it
I love it.
like
Right.
pieced out
Mhm.
for you, so.
The other thing
I
is
love
that
it.
I think, this is kind of just stepping back for 1 second, you know, since this is sort of our first real deliverable
Mhm.
that we're talking about, getting this out there, and that, you know, our vision and what we're gonna be about after this gets published, which we've talked about before, you know, this becomes the roadmap essentially that we're gonna maintain, right? And it is gonna change, priorities are gonna change and so on, but I think it's a good way to start stepping into, you know,
Yeah.
what we do,
Definitely.
right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
just,
I think we could be a little ambitious with it too. I mean, it's okay to have stuff on there that we have,
Yeah.
if for no other reason, maybe we even going into, we know this is never gonna happen, but at least we've got it on paper, and we can go back to it 5 years from now and say, oh, we never did anything on that, let's
Sure.
try it now,
Lofty, yeah.
you know,
Yep.
just to keep up.
I agree, and also on the flip side, 10 years is a long time. Who knows in 10 years? I mean, you
Exactly.
could
Right,
have,
true.
you know, we could
Right.
be rolling in dough. Who knows?
Yeah,
Optimistically.
Yeah. I mean, there is that.
Have a data center come to town and pay all our taxes.
And there is
No,
that.
I just-
Yeah, there's that classic exercise of, 2035 or whatever date, what could this look like?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just, those are fun sessions.
Mhm.
I think they're good when somebody facilitates it and keeps you kind of moving along, but anyway, that's
Okay.
off topic. Yeah,
So, now, somehow we know we have to.
get back
put
to
this
reality,
all
yeah.
Into
A
achievable
table.
goals.
Yes.
Just
I
not
did
to-
think one thing that seems to be a kind of a, I don't know, does sort of lend itself to being a goal is the maintenance issue, especially. Like, developing a plan to make sure that the stuff that we've already got is maintained somehow. And that could include, how do we secure funding? Is this something that, we're looking for a line item at town meeting for every year? Something like that. So these things are not, I mean, it's more, how should I put it? It's like we're not actually doing anything. We're just sort of saying, okay, here's, somebody is doing something to make sure that these things that we've been working on all this time are maintained and are preserved, et cetera. Because it doesn't seem like there is anything like that. I mean, in a way, if you look at, say, for example, from the recreation standpoint, they do have a budget, so they do have to go through that process of thinking about how are we going to pay for all this stuff. And so, what is the timeline for that, and
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And, of course, getting grant funding and all that stuff, but of course, there are timelines associated with all that stuff as well. So, okay, I guess what I'm saying, so that almost seems like a separate project, so to speak, I guess you could say. It's going to be like a one-year project that happens every year kind of thing. But maybe we can set up some sort of I guess what I'm saying is some sort of a cookie cutter mechanism
Yeah.
Like
where
recurring.
we're not recreating the wheel every year, when we do this thing, it's like, okay, we've got this big list of things we want to do, okay, and here's the machine we use to get them done. We go to town meeting, we get money,
Yeah.
we do this, we do that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first and third bullets, Bill, you added in maintenance. We've got the third bullet with volunteer opportunities,
Yeah.
adopt a trail or whatever it might be, seasonal stuff, et cetera, I think, yeah. It's good,
Good.
yeah.
Well, doesn't the maintenance management issue run throughout this, essentially? And, to me, that's another sort of element here which I think just looking at perhaps through slightly different eyes helps, because one of my questions is, I think to not answer, but anyway to react to sort of things that Sean was talking about, is how do you create what I might, well, in the old days would have been called manpower, nowadays you have to call it person power, right? That's both paid and volunteer, because that's the way this stuff tends to work in communities. And one of the things that Newbury's never had is volunteer.
Right.
And it's also never had paid. So guess what? Nothing much got done. Because when those sorts of issues arose, there was nobody to say, oh, we can do that, or that's mine, and I'll see that that happens. And we need to do it. And I think I may have identified a possible left field vehicle to start the process.
What is it?
And I don't know, it's maybe not germane to where we are right now, but it is to the whole business of essentially town property. And that is, okay, so my idea is simply we need as a community to face up to the fact that we need to put a permanent, forever conservation, preservation restriction on the upper and lower green. Okay, I mean, I don't think anybody would argue with that, except it's never been done because one, people didn't seem to think it was necessary, and two, it was always a question of who pays or how do we pay for that. The point is, we own it. We don't have to pay for the property. All we have to do is pay for the papers, and that's not that very much. If you do that in the process, you can create a Newbury Land Trust that holds those preservation restrictions, right? And the Newbury Land Trust then becomes a vehicle for your volunteer broadly across the community land, open space activities. But I think, and it's only my one man's opinion, but it is based, as I say, on years of looking and listening, and that is until there is that sort of agency, quote unquote, not capital A, but small a agency, that sort of group in the community, it's going to be very difficult to create the kind of maintenance management sort of meld that you have to have. And you know, all non-profits, for example, who do this, who are really very, very successful, all have a very successful volunteer program.
Yeah.
Greenbelt being, you know, a supreme example, who've really pushed hard in the last 2 years to rev theirs up. So for me, one of the goals that needs to be in this is this business of, which has to do with, you know, somewhere in there about town properties. It's not an improvement in this conventional sense of, you know, putting in drainage or something, but it's an improvement in the sense of protecting it.
I definitely see that as something that, you know, when we are putting together these plans, that that would be something you'd want to see in the plan. You know, you want to see who has the responsibility to do what portions of. Let's take an example. Borders to Boston Trail. Right? You know, let's talk about the northbound section there. Well, okay. Part of that is going to fall on Mass DOT. Part of it's going to be National Grid. They're going to insist on it. Part of it is going to be the town. I mean, at various and sundry places. I mean, all of the, for example, safety issues of the trail are going to be handled by the town. And then there's going to be volunteer. I mean, to make the thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
interesting and worthwhile, you know, people are going to want to do. So it's all, and I could see that for, well, I mean, part of the problem with talking about this canoe access thing, I mean, I think part of the problem there is, you know, if you look at the state of the parking lot and the road, we're not sure who's responsible for that. Why is the gate not open? All that stuff. And we're, you know, I would imagine that there are people who have, you know, canoes and kayaks that would be very interested in getting that gate opened and having access to it somehow. But I just wonder if there's any way, you know, I just got a feeling that it wasn't planned that way. In fact, I know it wasn't planned that way because originally it was a woodlot, I think, if I recall. But anyways, so I guess what we're talking about here is more parts of projects that we don't want to neglect because we're just trying to get our, kind of finish up a project and take it off of our list of things. But anyways, that sort of thing is the kind of thing that seems to, I could see it happening in the Border to Boston Trails thing, although I got a feeling there will be some kind of volunteer army out there to some degree that helps with that. But all these other things, I'm just wondering, well, a perfect example is the Caldwell Farms Trail. I mean, I don't know if anyone's been there, but it's like there's really nothing there. I mean, it's there. There's a place you could pull off the side of the road, but there are no markings on the trail. There's, if you might be able to make your way around it if you had a map or something like that, but there's no plan to do anything more on that. It's just, it's kind of,
Right.
That's the end of the project. It's done. We've moved on. That's it.
So David, do you feel like what Sadie put up there begins to capture what you're saying? So place conservation restrictions on the lower greens, create Newberry Land Trust, to oversee, manage.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, right, okay, right. Right, yep, exactly. It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If we get these sorts of things, great Sadie, into this, which is our working sort of, because okay, one of the things we were asking about, sort of how this would maybe look, well, so often the model is this thing where you have goals, sub-goals, and you end up having to identify, or doing the identification of who's responsible, where the money's come from, this kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
There is a way in which that is very helpful, but I'm wondering, I've wondered from time to time whether that doesn't sometimes, whether that, how can I put this, whether in a sense that doesn't need to be in an appendix or something further down, because what it tends to do, in my estimation, and I think this is often the reason why things don't get done, the thrust of the goal gets lost in all that stuff, right? Plus, I don't know always that we, or a group like this, is always the right body to determine who's responsible, and also to invent where they think the funds are coming from, which is always an embarrassing question in Newbury, like, who's paying, right? So just, just a thought that we might want to look at that very conventional layout, which it tends to appear, I think, by knee-jerk in almost every one of these plans I've looked at, until recently it's started to change a bit. And so the way of doing it might be, if you take it out of what people read, because they tend not to read appendices, right? But if you put it in an appendix, when the state says, where is it, you can say Appendix D. Because they're bound to ask, did you think about, I'm afraid,
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
Yeah, no, it seems like a good
Yeah.
idea.
But it does lead to the fact that even though all of that was in process and in the original plan, when it came to the beach access issue, it failed. I mean, it didn't achieve anything because the funds got consumed by a whole bunch of other priorities, which largely the town as a whole was not committed to. The administration might have been, but the town wasn't. So, you know. So there you go. Okay.
Alright,
So I think to your point, I think when we're doing our action table, identifying the funding sources is probably gonna be one of the most challenging things. Not only who's gonna be the lead support or take on that action item, but identifying potential funding sources. So like in some other plans I'm looking at, they list town, they list CPA. So, and that is, a lot of towns rely on that to fund some of these action items, and CPA is something that we haven't really talked about. If that even would be an option, or if something that we could include in the plan. And I'm not 100% sure exactly how that works, CPA.
yeah, I think it's something that the town has to vote on
Yep.
at town meeting. From what I've heard, it's been brought on the warrant many times, but it never gets approved, or like majority never votes to enact a CPA, which is kind of sad because we're missing out on state money. But, you know, it's how it goes, I guess. But yeah, it would be cool to have one.
Okay, goal 2, are we sort of in that direction?
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask if anyone else wanted to add anything in particular, or if we wanted to have people send ideas to me, or, you know, add to the document.
Well, the only thing I thought maybe needs to be dropped in there somewhere, I'm not quite sure, I think that's the right point, yes. That we should be sure to include that there should be public information about public access on quote-unquote private property. And that, I'm talking, you know, specifically about Caldwell Farms, about 105 High Street, and there's one other, I can't think what it is, where you have a conservation restriction or similar, where they did this under an OSRD. Because that's important for two reasons. One is that it solves, well, it doesn't solve, but the issue of the guy who called up and said, where's the trail map for the stuff on 105
Yeah.
High Street, right? That is because there isn't, as far as we know, except it turns out there is, apparently there's a trail that's been done by the developer,
Right.
but that was held tight to the developer's chest or whatever. So that gets to be, I think, an item that we need to kind of put in some sort of form, because that's public access, and that is the last piece, in a sense, in an OSRD. In other words, what you've achieved, because the fact we're doing OSRDs is a positive for open space.
Right.
And if you achieve the whole thing, the last piece is that trail and a planned trail and information and mapping and whatever. And as Mike very importantly pointed out, and it ties in with what we were talking about earlier, knowing and understanding there has to be a maintenance plan, that things like that don't just sort of survive all by themselves.
Right. Yeah, okay, I've added that in, definitely important.
One thing I would, that just occurred to me, I had put a comment that was very sort of granular, which was, if you, in goal 2, when we talk about, you know, keeping the website up to date the information aspect of things. And I
Yeah,
was saying,
I
well, you know,
saw
have a way
this.
for the public to kind of, I guess, you know, part of it is to keep this a living effort.
Right.
And current, up to date.
Yeah.
Create,
Totally.
you know,
Keep it-
engagement with the community
Keep the
and so on.
communication,
My comment off on the right there was sort of veered at social media, but I think if you take a step back and we go a little higher level, it's about a communication plan and an ongoing one, which
Yeah.
naturally fits into providing information, fits into maintenance, it fits into a lot of aspects here. You know, where if you broadcast out to the public and they have a way to then
Yeah.
engage or come back to you,
Mhm.
I think that's going to determine or lead to a lot of success here.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, that we've talked about the problem of the website, you know,
Yeah.
you got to get to that spot on the website, you got to find it. And then what? It's sort of static. Let's try to make this, so maybe, you know, without getting too specific, something about a communication, determining a communication strategy and plan for how to keep, you know, residents informed of both what we do as well as what, you know, the property specific
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
and you're right, because to me, see, that's an underlying reason for continuing the
Right.
existence of the Open Space Committee beyond the plan,
Exactly,
Yeah.
and two,
Right.
for the creation of the land trust.
exactly.
Because if you come here, like you folks did, and there was a land trust and an active recreation committee, you would at least have known that there were such things and could have asked about what are they doing, who are they, and expect to find information. Whereas right now, as you well experienced, and thank goodness you did, frankly, you volunteered. And
They'd be like, who's in charge? You are.
Yeah,
Oh.
right, like, oh, you-
Everybody around the table is.
Yeah, but you know, I mean,
Yeah.
really, it's interesting.
And wait, and so who pays for the land trust? Like, is it just part of the budget? Is it just a line item in the budget? Like, where does the funding come from the land trust, for the land trust?
Well, that's okay. So that's the other elephant in the room, right? Which we all know, and that to me comes out of a really neat relationship, if one could pull it off, between what the recreation committee is doing that's generating enough money probably to have a part-time person actually running programs, and the way in which that begins to integrate into activities of the town, like the DPW, who are already doing some of the sort of maintenance things like the mowing and this kind of thing. I honestly don't know, and I haven't had a chance to talk to John about it, whether there's a plan, I hope there is, for that very fancy playground that they put in. Because, you know, it's not going to just sort of exist, it's going to be used, and it's going to need to be maintained and monitored, and we're going to need to know how it comes through the winter and all that kind of stuff. They're much more in tune with that need than anyone else probably. So I think it's almost as though you need to find a way of funds that can't be usurped for other things,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And also maybe some funds that are raised by, even quite modest, raised by and handled by a non-profit, an entity which is legally related to the town but separate from it. I
It's-
think,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
that,
the library, I mean, they have friends of.
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Yeah, so-
very good, yeah, yeah. And in a way that's actually, yeah, think about that, because if you could become a land trust, you get to be vote card carrying member of land trusts throughout the state. There's a whole bunch of things which could be used as a little pressure group, just like you were talking earlier. I mean, in a way, the Board of the Boston group here, you guys, and the Board of the Boston initiative is a whole interesting pressure group that works in each community, from my experience. Yeah, okay.
I wanna just, I think, Jim, you said you had to head out around 8:30, right?
I do.
Okay.
But-
Does anyone have any other additions to the list at this moment?
My only question is, I feel like we need a summary, like, of the survey results that we can put in here, and we have to make sure that some of our actions and goals and objectives match what the survey results are.
Okay.
Do we have that?
Yeah, I have the just charts. I can maybe, I think it would be good to write, just like clearly write out what they say, like in the scientific paper results section of a scientific paper, like write it. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, I do think that like having a summary of what were the top issues, like what did everybody agree on, you know, and then how does that play into what our action plan is?
Yeah.
I feel like we just need to tie
There was a common
those.
thread on how people answered some of those questions that needs to be incorporated into our goals,
Right.
for
Yeah.
sure. The actual survey results should be in the appendix of this document, but they're like, needs to be summarized in a way that it's not too verbose, because
Yeah.
there's, a lot of people said some of very similar things but worded differently, and some answers
Yeah.
are out left field, and so we don't need to include all those. So we just need a way to condense that down into something comprehensive.
Yes, I agree. I can.
Well, I think our survey results are not that different from many places, okay, in a broad sort of brush way. And I also think they, to a degree, mirror what the recent, oh God, I can never remember what it stands for, but it's a thing called SCORP. The state's
Statewide comprehensive
comprehensive-
open space recreation.
No, well,
Statewide
anyway, it's
comprehensive
called
open-
SCORP, okay.
It
We
is.
get the gist of
It's a
it.
recreation
Yeah.
focused
Yeah, it's
statewide
recreation
document.
focused, and they have done statewide surveys, and I think they're due for one, maybe they're doing it, I have no idea, but the last one was 17, somewhere in there, the
Yeah.
teens.
Something like that, yeah.
And anything that we do needs to be sort of congruent with that. And at the same time, if one can point to the fact that our community is reflective of the state of the whole, and yet at the same time not pedal that too hard, because we're very different from many communities, not obviously, yes, the cities, but there's no community, I haven't found one yet, that has anywhere near the percentage of conservation held, preservation held land. There's nowhere else that I know of. Maybe Nantucket or someplace like that, but and that does change the ballgame, because we don't have real local input control over those things. We can have it, but we tend not to. Witness the pink cows, right? Which, was a very unfortunate kind of affair, but anyway, yeah. Okay.
So, your question was, do we want to add more to that? I think this is a great start. I think as we, after this discussion, can kind of think of some more goals or things that are important. Maybe again, look over the results from the survey, and also our discussions we had with some of the organizations and stuff too. I think we can probably come up with something, and that we can add to this. Would it be easier for you to kind of put it into like a more refined format? Like,
This list, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or just send you more bullets, and then do you wanna take that on to organize it?
If you guys have more you wanna add, I would say yes, or yeah, send me what other ideas you have, like, and then, you know, it won't be done, but I'll send it to, I'll clean it up, make it more refined, and then send it within the draft to MVPC
Okay,
to review.
okay. Is it possible to send it out, bounce it before
Yeah.
you send the document out?
Yeah.
I mean, you want us to go through it?
Yeah, definitely. I can just, you know, email it, and you guys can, if there isn't anything major that you see wrong with it, then you can just say, okay, this looks good, and I'll send it off. Do you want to make Thursday the deadline for submitting any other ideas to me regarding this list? Does that seem reasonable, or is that too?
This Thursday?
Is that too short of
I'm
time?
gonna be at sea from now until Thursday myself.
Well, there you go.
How about Monday?
My steam home. Yeah, give us a.
Monday's
Monday?
Monday,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, Tuesday I can, like the end of day, Monday, you can submit things, and then Tuesday I'll spend some time cleaning it up, and then hopefully by the end of day, next Tuesday, I can send it to you guys to,
So are you thinking that, are we not gonna put it into a table format before we send it to MVPC? That's where we're headed, right, is to put this into a table?
yeah,
Actually, I think the new plan, they recommend that it's in the
Table.
table. It's
okay,
right
I can put it in a table just so we can start visualizing how it's gonna look.
Yeah, because sometimes that influences how we write things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I think it's gonna be very, very rough though.
Yeah,
still.
oh yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's
just
not
making
gonna
sure
be
that,
done.
Which is
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, it's almost like
like
what
leave
we're
some
giving-
blank rows.
Yeah, what we're giving them is, we really want 3, 4, 5, and maybe some of 6 to get their input on that, right, and feedback on that.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And
Yeah, no, they're
then-
gonna have plenty to do
Things are missing.
before we
There's-
get
Exactly,
to
there's gonna be a
section
lot to
6.
churn through in 6 and 7, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, do we, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are we putting together specific projects that we'd like to see accomplished at this point? Like, one that I kind of stumbled on or remembered was the Marsh Loop Trail at the Central Street playing fields there.
right,
And we kind of ran up against a roadblock because, well, there's that bridge that doesn't, there is no bridge, there should be some sort of walkway or whatever. And there were some repairs to the path and all that stuff. So I guess my point is, there's something that, I could see, where you would sort of like have a process that you would sort of be talking about as kind of like stepping stones to see, this thing. Like you went to the Conservation Commission, what was the result of that? I mean, did they ever get back in? That sort of thing. So in order to get to the next stage, which is, okay, well, how, what's the feasibility of putting some sort of walkway across this water thing, and who's gonna do it, and then how much money, and then how do we raise that money, and then
So
so on and so forth.
I thought we're thinking more of keeping it at a higher level, but then be able to incorporate that, not call out like we need to build a bridge on this trail, but rather be like enhanced, improve,
Okay.
create the mechanism to enhance and improve trails and maintenance or something like that. We're gonna keep it a little bit higher level.
and I think, just quickly, like, if we're talking about the management of properties and existing or new ones and so on, like, just the idea of a backlog,
Yeah.
having in that backlog list, so if
Yeah.
if we want to capture these things, maybe we start on a rough backlog. That can be something that you can always throw into an
An appendix,
appendix
I was
and
gonna
say,
say,
these
yeah.
are, past projects that we know need revisiting or something along those
Okay.
lines.
Yeah,
that way we're
So we memorialize them somewhere, so we don't forget about
memorializing
them.
anything like that,
Yeah.
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 But, and that's gonna play into what, we do moving forward, so.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Or certainly they would fit in as examples.
Exactly, right.
Totally.
You know, here's the general goal, and,
Yeah.
well, here's something we were looking at. Here's another thing, here's another thing, here's another.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
kind of what we're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine, because I came up with like 5 things, and that's kind of the way I think. It's like, okay, here's a project I'd like to see done, and, but, they're all kind of the same project if you look at them from a top-level perspective.
Good to have the list. It's a good
Exactly.
list that to write down
Yeah,
Yeah.
and include here somewhere.
right.
Yeah.
And some of them, I mean, they're not all mine, but, we've been having these meetings for a year, so there have been people.
Yeah. No, I feel like
mentioned
everybody
things.
should have something that they
Yeah.
are passionate, and that's why you're here. So like, let's make sure we
Right.
write that one down in
Yeah.
the plan. Find a way to incorporate everybody's passion project in here. We just got David's on the
Well,
upper
yeah.
green and lower green.
Yeah.
You probably have a few more. But
Yeah, I guess, well, Sadie's obviously
She
been
just-
back in a minute, okay.
Sorry.
I guess my question at this point, I think is the right point, is what is it we're really asking MVPC to do at this point?
I think just give feedback on where we are, if we're missing anything crucial, if we're on the right track with our action plan. And I think they'd probably have some good insight about, our question of, how granular should we be getting in our action plan? Because they have lots of experience with, approved plans, so.
They're also gonna like help refine all of our text. Like everybody
Yeah.
wrote their own
Right.
sections from their
Mhm.
own
Yeah,
perspective. So I
right.
think they're also gonna start at the beginning and try and like
Right.
refine our text and make it
I mean,
flow.
we wanna get 2, 3, 4, 5, like,
Done.
done and
We
move
wanna-
on
yes.
to it, like.
So to this
free
stuff, which is
ourselves.
the good stuff, exactly,
Yeah.
But
exactly.
to some
So-
degree, they've got to know what it is we think we're sending them. Do you know what I'm saying?
I can
Yeah, they
explain
have
that
those
it's
conversations.
a draft, like, is that what you mean? Like, I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, okay, having been the other end of this for a while, although I didn't get to do that, but it would seem to me if we need to give them a sense that we're aware that there won't be things that are there that we have but don't need to send them. And what I'm thinking of is we know that we have to have, for example, letters of support, we know we have to have references, we know we have to have a bunch of things.
They know it's a
And so-
preliminary
So it's a sense
stage
of
we're at right now.
telling them, we're sending you this, but we're not sending any of that, and we know that that's, either we have it underway or we know, we're obligated to do it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm at the other end, and I'm looking at something and I think, whoa, wait a minute, from my perspective and the commission's, there's missing something.
No, I think that those conversations have already happened, because we were gonna wait and send them a more final document, and they said, don't wait, just send us the scraps that you've got now, and we'll try and refine it and piece it together. So I think those conversations have already happened, and they know what's
Yeah.
coming.
I think they
Yeah.
want to catch us even before those steps, so that they
Right.
can,
Well,
make
if
those
they're willing
easier
to
for
do that,
us.
great, but,
Take them on.
yeah, we have to be, I think, clear about what we're sending and why, and to some degree leave them to decide,
And they'll
how-
come back and say, don't forget, you have to do this, 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 and this. Like,
Yeah,
that's what they're helping
right,
us for.
Yeah, yeah, okay. All
Oh,
right,
and you know
so-
what, we added references to the back of that Word document. We have our references for our section 4 are in the
Oh.
references section.
Oh,
So
great,
if you
that's awesome.
like decide to create a new document, we grabbed your template
Mhm.
when we put in section 4, so if you put everybody else's sections into that one, it
Mhm.
should be your template, but if you were taking it out and putting it somewhere else, grab our section 9.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so Sadie, how you feel about wrapping this part up and getting stuff together? Do you need any more input from us?
I feel good.
Monday.
So Monday,
Monday.
you guys will send, by Monday, you guys can send me more ideas for this. And then I'll do my best to organize it and get it ready for by the end of next week, I guess, to send to MVPC.
What do you think, cause how are we gonna compare the survey results to this, if we don't have the, like, survey results write up? So is there any way that you could work on the survey results write up?
Yeah, I can do that I could probably do that this week.
Cause that would help inform if we need to add anything else here by Monday.
That's true. You're right. Okay, so, I don't think I can have that done super quickly,
Yeah, I mean.
but by the end of
You
this
can kind of
week.
look at the survey results and just say, okay, this is really important.
Okay. Maybe
We
can
don't
you
need
send
it.
out, can you send out the document that has all the survey
Should do.
results in it?
Yeah.
Did you already send that out, or just like refresh it?
It's in doesn't have, it's just my preliminary, like,
Your summary?
analysis.
Yeah.
It's the.
Oh, survey and results.
Data collation.
Data collation summary, okay.
Yeah,
With
right.
with like the most clear, like, themes.
I think what she's showing now is the easiest one to use.
Yeah.
There is a howling error, did you find it?
No.
Okay, well, there was anyway.
Okay.
Something
Good
was,
night.
See you later, Jim.
Have a good flight tomorrow.
okay, something was shown
Howling error.
as 3% or something because the number should have been like 117, okay?
Oh, I
but-
think that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the percentage is wacko.
I don't know how that happened. I
Well,
can fix
okay.
that.
Yeah, but it's glaring because 4%
Sorry.
of 150 something is not 117 by anybody's weird math.
I'm pretty sure this number is correct, but the percentage is.
Yeah, well, it basically, it reflects what we sort of, I think, know, don't we? And that is, I can't remember the title of what's the title of that column?
What recreational activities have you and/or your family participated in within
Yeah.
the last year within the town of Newbury?
Okay, and so what's that?
This,
What might
the one
actually-
with the error is beach going.
Yeah,
It's 117, but
yeah,
I
well,
don't know
that's
the
what
percentage
you'd
on the top of my
expect,
head,
I
but.
think. Frankly,
It's not
it would be
4.5%.
less than the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I looked at it and I thought, woo, wait a minute, either we've got a wrong data or we've got some funny math.
Funny math is the culprit.
Yes. And, well, okay, this was a good example of the fact that to me, maybe this is obvious to the rest of you, but that MVPC guys need to know that we have that as a source. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not just that we did the survey and ran the numbers, but we have something like that already that we're using as a tool.
That's kind of why I feel like it's important to get the summary like into the draft of the plan, because that will inform MVPC a little bit, so they can see what our town is all about and kind of like the questions that we asked and the answers that we got, because I feel like that might help them refine our narrative.
Yeah.
What's wrong with just giving them this? Are we-
It's
do we not want
it's still kind of preliminary. I've just struggled kind of with tabulating some of the like questions 3 and 4. I think I struggled, or I did this so long ago I don't quite remember, but I can send them this
They
because
also might
it's
be-
valuable data.
Yeah, I feel
It
like
does touch all the
we
questions.
could just send them that, and then also, if you have the raw data, you could ask them, do you guys have a good way of summarizing survey results? Because they've
Yeah.
obviously done so many surveys and taken the results, so like,
This is
let's
true.
ask them how best
Yeah.
to,
One of the
Present the
things that
results.
is pretty wacko, and I do not know why this happens, and this is not us, but many of these plans list every damn single person's response in the "do you have anything to add" or something like this. I mean, there's one town that has, I think, 327 individual spelled out as part of as an appendix to their plan, which is absolutely cuckoo because you can't digest it, you know? And I don't know.
It is interesting to create like public engagement though, and to say, see my comment, they at least acknowledged my comment, so they must have read it. So
Well,
I can kind of see on the flip side,
I think that's behind it, but you know,
Yeah.
when you have that many, obviously in a very large community, it might take you half an hour to find your own
Oh, for sure.
comment, because they weren't grouped, as far as I could tell. They would just know, just blah, 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 blah.
I mean, I don't think we'll end up doing that, just for the reasons you said, David. I think this is, you know, kind of more our speed,
Yeah,
like
But
tables
that's,
and
you know,
We are
contracts
gonna
and
have-
things like that.
that's CA, isn't it? Not
You were
coming
gonna have a
from
more,
nowhere. Okay.
you were gonna do a more, how should I say, written out analysis.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
So I'm just wondering if, as you're going through, you could maybe pick out one or two of the open-ended responses. and
Yeah,
say,
as like, you
here's
know,
a perfect example.
as this resident
of-
stated, you know,
Yeah.
beach parking is a huge issue in Newburyport, I'm planning
Right.
on, like,
Right,
I can
that
quote
kind of
people.
thing. So
Yeah.
at least, you know, you can sort of, I guess what I'm saying is you can strew some of that stuff throughout the
Yeah.
narrative, I guess.
yeah. Were you
Yeah.
gonna say something, Bill?
No, I mean, I was just thinking, like, I'm trying to vision that I would keep this and then I'd just do a couple paragraphs, page maybe, kind of summarizing the results, who took the, you know, where the survey, how it was given, who took it, you know.
Yeah,
pages,
that'll definitely
Yeah,
go in there.
just some real basic summary stuff.
Yeah.
I think that should do it.
Sounds good.
All right.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'd like to move on to committee member updates, if anybody has anything else they'd like to add outside of this.
No.
nope.
Nope, hearing none. Then let's go and pick our next date for the next meeting.
Sounds good. A month from now, February 24th. Or 17th, maybe? Third Tuesday in February.
Come on, birthday, open space committee meeting.
Your birthday's the 17th?
Yes.
Aw, we don't have to do
We'll have
that
a
to
cake.
you.
What more could
I couldn't think of
What more could you
Come
want?
on, what
That's
more
true.
did I want?
So the 24th.
24th?
Potentially gonna be one.
The 24th.
We can,
I feel like we should do it on the 17th. Who cares? It's just another day. We'll
Nah.
celebrate a different day.
oh.
Since the 18th.
We
Do it
can't,
being-
the whole committee, just do the 17th.
I'm in trouble, I shouldn't have said it.
So are you saying the 24th or not?
No, I think we're doing the 17th. We're sticking with our usual schedule.
I'm writing your birthday in my planner, but.
The 17th.
17th of February.
Guess I'm going to Rusty King for your birthday.
Or maybe before.
That'd be a fun meeting. Maybe we should just have it there at the Rusty King,
Yes.
all of us.
Open space meeting of the Rusty.
Uh-huh.
What's the-
All right. Is that it?
So is it the 17th?
The
Yeah.
17th?
Yeah.
7
that's
o'clock.
And are we alternating? Are we doing it here? Or are we doing it on Zoom?
What do people think? On Zoom next time?
I liked the alternating thing.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, I mean, honest, well, that makes different, but most nights when we alternate in Zoom, I can actually do it straight from work, and it's like, it works out.
And if the person is coming, she could like show her screen and really walk us through if the Essex County Greenbelt, Abby is gonna be there.
Yeah,
I feel like we
true.
found it really helpful the last time we had a guest, that they did it when we were on Zoom and we all had our
Yeah.
computers in front of us and it was a really good, efficient.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's stick with that. I
okay.
like
Are you
it.
okay with that?
Zoom it is.
Zoom for the next one?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that works.
All right, 7 o'clock?
Sure.
All right, doing a Zoomer at 7 o'clock on the 17th. there anything else anybody else like to add before we close?
I would like offline to talk to you all before we leave.
Okay, we can turn off the
Fair
camera.
enough. All right.
Do we need to make a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.